Mr. Chris Larsen, thank you very much for joining the show. I appreciate your time right now.
Well, you know what, Justin, as we were saying just a moment ago, had the great pleasure of being on a couple of years ago, pre-COVID. It's like everything. We define everything by COVID, pre or post. Pre-COVID, and it's just a real treat to be back with you this week. It's a busy week, but it's, what you're doing at High Button is great stuff. It's just a pleasure to be part of it.
I appreciate that, and us being in the same business, sport, entertainment, and to see you back and to see you flourishing in your company, it's a great thing for you, and I think it's a great thing for us, and I think it's a great thing for fans, and I think it's a great thing for just entertainment in general. I remember 2 years ago, you and I were doing a video shoot with Mr. Rick Bonus.
Yeah.
And we were meeting him at a golf course, and you and I were there. We were a little bit early. We were waiting for Rick, and you and I were having a conversation, and you said to me, Justin, there's a possibility if this thing hits harder, sports and entertainment are going to be the last thing that come back. Fast forward 2 years later, it's COVID's taken a little bit of a back seat, and you can sense the excitement in the air. You can sense a little bit of normalcy. Where's your head at right now with everything coming back and a huge weekend coming up for you with the USPORTS CUP here?
Yeah, so it's been every bit as difficult. I mean, there are no new words to use. Everybody's used them, but it's been every bit as difficult as you could possibly have imagined in the last 2 years. And that's not to cry in our beer. Everybody was in the same boat. And I don't mind saying it that if it hadn't been for the wisdom of the federal and provincial government programs to support business, we wouldn't have made it through. And I don't mind saying that. It's reality. But as we saw, there was a new start line ahead of us. And I think we're there now. I mean, there's going to be a few speed bumps along the way here as people get used to taking care of their own safety, being responsible for their own safety, as opposed to the government trying to make us safe all the time. Mm-hmm. It is allowing for events like what we're going to enjoy this week down at Acadia to happen, but it's also a result. We're at Acadia as a result of it. We had to move the championship back a couple of weeks, and therefore we weren't able to use Scotiabank Centre and have found a great home in the valley at Acadia. Acadia is our partner in this project. So we don't see it as a shortcoming. We see it as a real opportunity to bring, what I call the best hockey in Canada outside of pro, to bring it to the Valley and the Valley hockey fans. They're great hockey fans. They're gonna love seeing this hard, fast, intense, battles for every puck, because if you lose, you're out kind of hockey.
Yeah.
Right? So, it feels good to be back to work. I wish I had $1 every time I've said the last 2 years. I've never been so busy doing nothing, because you're always planning, you're always replanning that word that starts with a P that I refuse to use anymore. I think it's pivot. And if you got paid on pivots, there wouldn't be a problem, right? We had to rejig everything almost every week. So, but it also gave birth to a couple of opportunities. We got into the esports business because of it. Now we need to continue to focus on that a bit, because once it became obvious we could come back to our core business, we had to kind of step away from e-business to make sure we were, back full stride on our core business. And it also offers an opportunity. We're doing some consulting work that we weren't doing before COVID around the region, quite honestly. So it just feels good to be back to work. Put it that way, right?
100%. Yeah, you don't have to preach to me. It feels unbelievable.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're looking forward to that the tournament's going to be in Acadia compared to Halifax? We were thinking before you got here, we're like, what's going to be so great about Acadia? And we were just thinking, the tightness of the community. It's not in Halifax where it's a little bit bigger.
Yep.
You'll be able to see everyone in the tournament in one day walking down one street outside the rink. I think the community coming together is going to be great. But on your end, what do you think the benefits are of moving to Wolfville?
Well, and I think that's the biggest one. I wouldn't say for a moment that this event would get lost in Halifax. Never has. Whether it's men's basketball championship or men's hockey championship. This Halifax has a lengthy legacy of staging outstanding university championships. So it's not like, well, if it was in Halifax, nobody would know we'd be here. That's not the case at all. But in Wolfville, you just turn that upside down. It is the event in town. It's like the Stanley Cup Finals are coming to town. It's like Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final for 8 games, right? And the Valley hockey fan is a knowledgeable, well-versed hockey fan. And whether or not Acadia, St. FX, and UNB play through, of course we hope they do, but whether or not they don't, we can tell from ticket sales they're gonna be in the rink watching great hockey no matter who's playing, right? And then out in the community, as you just mentioned on Main Street, what we've brought to Wolfville is what we've done so well here in Halifax. This is the idea of the hockey houses. So there's an Acadia hockey house, there's a UNB hockey house, there's a St. FX hockey house. So their family, friends, and alumni have a place to gather pre and post, walk down the street to the rink. It's pretty comfy, pretty cozy, right?
100%.
But not unlike Halifax, because we would do that program in downtown Halifax, just outside the rink. But it brings those elements to Wolfville that you don't see on a typical AUS game night, right?
Yeah, 100%.
There's going to be so much energy in the community, in the rink, outside the rink. Like I say, it's like 8 game 7s.
Yeah.
Coming to town.
But just. Yeah, it's been, like I said, 2 years since I've seen one of these games, but I remember the games we went to last or 2 years ago at the Scotiabank Center. Even with not that big of a capacity because of COVID, the energy in the rink was unbelievable. Even under the tunnel, just the teams, the trainers, the coaches walking around, the hands that you're shaking, the people you're meeting, just smiles on everyone's faces. That's what I'm most forward to, is just getting that energy back. It's irreplaceable, if you ask me.
Well, it really is, and I think the teams are the same way. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got a lot of dialogue with them since each one of them's qualified. Some a while ago, like UBC and Alberta, have been qualified for almost 2 weeks. So there's been a fair bit of chatter with them, making sure that their accommodations are arranged and their transportation's arranged. There are some changes here for teams, and teams who regularly come to this since 2015 would be accustomed to probably one of the best hosting assets any city has, and that is you can walk to the rink. You take the bus in from the airport, you take the bus back to the airport. Other than that, you're walking to the rink, and you're a former player. The biggest question you'd always ask every day is, what time's the bus? Right? What time's the bus? And when you play this tournament in Halifax, you never have to ask that question because you're walking for practice and you're walking for the games, and your hotel's right next door. Where you're going to socialize right next door. So one of the things that the teams will need to adjust to is that they'll be busing back and forth from Halifax.
Okay.
There's just not enough hotel accommodation in the valley. But again, as a former player, you would understand you spent half your playing life on a bus.
Yeah.
What's an hour?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's nothing really. And so although they'll have to go back and forth a fair bit, at this time of the year, most of them don't practice anyway. They're more engaged. They're more interested in making sure they get their rest after they play, rather than getting back to the rink the next morning for a morning skate.
Yeah.
So it works out pretty well that way. And the schools, I guess back to my point, the schools that have had a chance to play through to go to a national championship, which hasn't happened in 2 years, right? They had to win their own league or finish high enough in their own league to qualify for a seed in the national rankings. They are pumped. There's no question. They can't wait to get here. They can't wait to get going.
Yeah.